All right, so our last one here, which we have with factoring, is factoring by grouping. So after this one, we'll be done with this for a little while. So factoring by grouping, um, let's go to our next slide here and see what kind of problems we have here to look at. So these is when you got, notice you've got four terms here. So when you've got four terms, you can factor them by grouping here. So group the first two and group the last two together. So in the first two there, look for your GCF, and my GCF there is 2x squared. What am I left with? 4x. 2x squared times what is 14x squared? It's 7. Looking there at 20x plus 35. What's the GCF there? 5. What am I left with? 4x plus 5 times 7 is 35. So now I can see what's left over in the parentheses exactly the same. So I've got 4x plus 7. And then I got what's left over on the outside, 2x squared plus 5. So then part B there, looking through that one there, grouping the first two, grouping the last two. GCF of the first two there is 2x squared. What am I left with? 3x minus 2. GCF of those second two, GCF is 5. What am I left with? 3x minus 2. So then the parentheses there are exactly the same, so you get 3x minus 2. What am I left over with? 2x squared plus 5. So factoring by grouping. So let me do two more of these yet. Again, group the first two, group the last two. Group in the first two, GCF, they have a 5 in common and they have an x squared in common. So 5x squared times x will give me 5x to the third. 5x squared times 8 will give me negative 40x squared. GCF for the next one, because I'm starting there with a negative, I want to pull a negative out, 4. And then negative 4 times x will give me negative 4. And negative 4 times a minus 8 here will give me a positive 32. So notice the parentheses are exactly the same in both cases. So I'm going to write down the x minus 8 that they share. What's left over in front? 5x squared minus 4. And then my next example here, I'm looking at GCF of 28x to the third plus 7x squared. I'm seeing that they have a 7x squared in common. I'm left with 4x plus 1. The second part there, negative 8x minus 2, what do they have in common? Oh yeah, a negative 2. And I'm left with 4x plus 1. The parentheses are exactly the same in each case, so I'm going to write that down. And I'm left with 7x squared minus 2. By the way, if you end up not getting the same thing inside the parentheses, you know you did something wrong, so you need to go back and re-figure out what happened, because they will work out. So I think we got factoring by grouping pretty good. So working there on the 4-3G worksheet there, and it's going to be numbers 9 through 22. And then we've got a review worksheet going on soon, and then a quiz going on soon, so beware of that. Not yet, though. That on the screen there doesn't match entirely true. All right, so now you can factor by grouping, so go ahead and you can work on those.